Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to My Hero Academia 185 or Boku no Hero Academia 185, the Winged Hero Hoax. Before we start, I'd like to apologize for the darkness of the video. I'm not too sure why it's gotten this dark. It's never done it before, and I'm not too sure exactly how to adjust this camera. I'm not exactly very camera savvy type of individual, so I'm not too sure why it's done that. I'll try and manually adjust it afterwards when I edit it, but we'll see how that goes. So the chapter though, the cover page of this chapter is the ranking of heroes we saw last chapter from 1 to 10. So we have Ryukyu at the bottom and Endeavor at the top. And we're also reminded of how heroes are categorized. The most important thing is the number and scale of incidents resolved. So if they solved many small scale incidents and then they solved a couple like large scale incidents like the Camino one, then they'd have a really high ranking, someone like Endeavor. But this is followed by contributions to society and approval ratings, which is third in the list, by the way. So just remember that, because I feel like the author included that because this chapter actually does revolve around that. So we start the chapter back at the Hero Billboard event, where the Hero Public Safety Commission president gives us a short speech about how this Billboard event is a turning point for heroes and the moving on to the next era of peace. So they've spent 3 months without the symbol of peace, which was All Might, and she talks of how the heroes present are the ones who will carry them on to their next era of peace. And during this, Hawks is visibly very bored by the speech made by the commission president, even whispering to Endeavor, "What's it like being number one?" You know, so I'm just like, at this point, I just thought he was a little salty and that he wasn't number one. But the chapter continues and you find out more, and it's not really that. So each hero then makes a speech to the crowd, thanking them and saying they'll try their best moving forwards. Ryukyu does this, but also says she would have preferred to have been ranked lower, as she wasn't able to save a life, talking about Night Eye. We see Fat Gum and Lockrock in the crowd. I think that was his name, Lockrock. Fat Gum's emotional and Lockrock is just kind of silent and pensive. And I was kind of like Fat Gum here. I was just like, oh, I'm not ready to talk about Night Eye right now, man. Just don't mention him, man. I just don't want to talk about it. So Crust can't contain his passion and tries to encourage Ryukyu, something which seems to both displease and please the crowd. And I feel like that might be kind of his thing, even outside of this Billboard event. I think the general public might both like and dislike him because maybe he's one of those guys who's too passionate, but he's actually a really good hero. So he might be one of those almost polarizing individuals. Yoroi Musha, his speech, he just simply says that he must do what he has always needed to do. Very, very samurai-esque. Wash just says Wash. Wash is a hero I'm not too, interested in at the moment. He seems like the comic hero, and I'm not too interested in that. I mean, like, if he was powerful as well, that would be dope. But he just says Wash, and there's nothing cool about him at the moment, so I'm not really interested in him. Kamui Woods thanks Edshot for allowing him to join his team and says he will strive to not disappoint his colleagues and his mentors. Crust cries about not having been in Camino on that fateful day, Camino being where All Might fought all for one and lost his powers eventually. And I think this was like right at the end of the Bakugo retrieval arc. And this is where Hawks starts to become visibly bored once again, during Crust's speech, but it's in a very different way to before. It's in a very British way that he gets bored. When you become bored of something in England, you get to that point where you start to get annoyed at something. So it almost becomes a synonym for that. So then we have Midako, the bunny hero, saying that she'll send villains flying. It's like, okay, lady, you're dressed as a bunny. I don't think so. So Edshot is told that he would have been number 3 if his approval ratings had been a little higher by the interviewer. And he's not concerned by this, Edshot. He's just like, yeah, whatever, I'm not really concerned. And he simply thanks everyone for their support, telling the crowd that he's not a hero for fame or for money. And he goes on to say that he just wants to bring about peace. He's very, very Miss World, very like a beauty pageant. He's just there like, I'm here for world peace. And you're just like, I don't think so. So this is where Hawks has had enough. He's just like, okay, that's it. That's enough bullshit for one day. So he addresses the heroes in the crowd, asking if hearing that will make anyone happy. So Edshot comments on how Hawks has this kind of love for rocking the boat. Midako gets a little happy that Hawks has decided to speak up. She just gets a little bit fired up, and I'm just like, okay, you're dressed as a bunny, lady, calm down. So it would seem that Hawks is a polarizing individual. something he confirms by saying that he just doesn't enjoy keeping things bottled up in response to Edshot's comment. So Hawks addresses the crowd talking about approval ratings. Now I really like this part, because Hawks, even though he's young, even though he seems to be this polarizing individual, he seems to have his head screwed on right, I think. If I understood exactly what he was saying, maybe you guys can tell me otherwise. But I think what he was trying to help out Endeavor, and he was trying to get the people to understand a different way of thinking to how they've been thinking at this moment. People need to change their mindset if they're going to get a new symbol of peace, because it's not going to be the same. Things are changing. So this is what Hawks does. He addresses the crowd talking about these approval ratings, and if the heroes were ranked based on how the populace trusts them and how much they like the hero, so by their approval rating, Best Genius would be number 1 because his approval ratings went through the sky when he got injured. Hawks would be number 2, Edshot number 3, and Endeavor would be lower than 4th, so not even top 4. He questions the heroes and crowd again. At this so-called turning point in history, why do they still hold on to heroes of the past? And talking about how good heroes used to be. I mean, I know All Might was awesome and all that good stuff, but he's gone now, so you have to focus on who you have to take up the mantle now. But they still talk of All Might as if he was going to come back one day and save them, but he's gone now, so you need to focus on the future and moving forward. You need to focus on being better. So things are changing, All Might is gone, and all of the current heroes are incredibly tame on this momentous day. On a day like this, where the throne of number 1 has been taken, but the battle for it can continue through the years and can continue every half a year. Why would these heroes who are going to usher in the next era of peace not guarantee that they would bring it and could bring it? So I feel like this was Hawks' point. We've lost our symbol, and we're betting on people who can't even make a speech that'll rally the people on the day when they have all the right to do so. This is the day where you can make that speech and rally people and really unite a whole bunch of this crowd behind you. So he also talks of popularity, possibly suggesting that although people like Endeavor, and they like him at the top of the hero rankings and stuff like that because he's a good hero, the people don't seem to have as much trust and affection for him, which is shown by his ranking in the approval ratings, lower than 4th. So he's questioning how the people view heroes at this point in time, making them look towards themselves and wondering whether a top ranked hero like Endeavor really deserved an approval rating of less than 4th, i.e. Endeavor deserves your trust. Why don't you place it in him? The guy's a beast. So that's what I feel like he was trying to say. We then get some specs on Hawk. A 22-year-old, gained top 3 in the last Billboard charts, started his own office at 18, very young age, and in that same year when he was 18 and started his first office, his own office, he was ranked a top 10 hero, a historical first for a teenager to be in the top 10 heroes. Now, as a result of this, he's known as the man who goes too fast, the precocious man. Precocious meaning, let me just say that again, precocious, for the people who don't know the word, just meaning you kind of acquire an ability earlier than you're supposed to. It's usually if you're a child and you acquire an ability earlier than a lot of children your age would do, but it can be used to describe any person who's acquired an ability earlier than they were supposed to by general law, I suppose. So as the crowd mutters away, Hawks hands over the mic to Endeavor, asking the hero with a lower approval rating than himself to give a speech after all that talk about popularity. So I think now, and he does mention it later, I know he mentions it later, but I think Hawks really set the stage here for Endeavor. He's like, I've said all that, I've made you kind of look bad with your approval rating, and I've made everyone kind of regret placing you there. Now is the time for you to take the stage. So everyone else kind of spoke of how they'd like to thank everyone for their support and how they'd continue to try hard, giving very generic answers that suggest social stagnation, no progress, like, we're just going to try to keep things the way they are, we're going to try and keep things okay. And that's why all the heroes kind of disappointed Hawks. And Endeavor addresses Hawks' taunts and says that there's not much to say after that. He thinks back on his conversation with All Might, where All Might told him his kind of reason for becoming strong and staying strong. And then Endeavor addresses the crowd with fire burning in his eyes and says, "Just watch me." And I was like, that's all he needed to say. 3 simple words, but the weight of them is almost tangible. You can almost grab the words out of the air. You can see that Hawks was happy with Endeavor's response, applauding him and smiling. And the crowd looked taken aback, almost wondering what Endeavor's going to be doing in the future. Like, what should we watch out for? What the hell are you going to do? And that's what I liked. Endeavor spoke nothing of the past or his fans or All Might or even other heroes. He addresses Hawks' poking at him, but he doesn't actually address Hawks and his ability to do his job, apart from calling him a novice. So he simply gave them something to look forward to. He gave the crowd something to look on towards, and he says, watch what I'm about to do. So that's something that no one else really said. So we then go to Endeavor's locker room, where he grabs Hawks by the collar and asks, what the hell was that about? Hawks seems more playful here, saying that he felt a more impactful speech was needed and necessary, and how he essentially set the stage for Endeavor, which I fully believe. I think he was trying to set the stage for Endeavor. Hawks then talks of how he was never an All Might fan and he never tried to be like him, but it still shocked him when he retired. He then says that Endeavor is not as iconic a presence as All Might. I mean, All Might had it all. He just looked so good as the number one hero. But with All Might out of the picture, a new leader is needed by the heroes to serve as a symbol. So even though Hawks says he wasn't testing Endeavor, I think he kind of was, seeing if Endeavor would step up to the mantle of leadership after his provocation, suggesting that that the public didn't like him. You know, like you're number one hero, but no one likes you. So unbeknownst to him, Endeavor showed that he was willing to step up while improving himself, a good leader quality to have. So Endeavor can't tell whether Hawks was being honest here or mocking him, and he asks if Hawks would want to be in his leader position, but Hawks says he'd prefer to be lower down so he can operate freely. So Endeavor then tells Hawks to apologize to the other heroes and the crowd, but this is where their conversation takes a turn, and a good turn, and I'm really, really hyped about this. After having already heard some unpleasant reports in his area before this billboard event, I assume, Hawks requests a team up with Endeavor. Now, it's got to be something big, something real big for the number 1 and number 2 heroes to want to team up, especially if number 2's requesting it. So any other time Endeavor would have declined. He would have been like, nah, not with you. But this involves Nomus. You know, the black-skinned, like mutated individuals that have lost their humanity for All Might right at the beginning, almost, and had him go all out, had him almost have his identity revealed to the kids and everything like that, and he had to really, really pull out the reserves of his fighting capability. That type of creature is what they're talking about. So we then push away from Endeavor and Hawks, and we get to the end of the chapter where someone talks. I'm not too sure who it is. I assume Shigaraki, but it could very well be someone else. But this individual talks to a skinnier, more mutated looking Nomu and says that he'll be expecting results from this Nomu because it understands him. So now this is what we're getting. We're getting Nomus with higher intelligence, and that's dangerous, because if they start to think, then everyone's screwed. They're going to start to make decisions on their own. They're going to start to alter their orders a little bit. Like if they were ordered to kill All Might, let's say, they won't go in a straight line and just make a beeline for All Might and try to kill him and then get busted up on the way. They'll probably do things in secret, do things behind people's backs in the shadows, and then pop out when All Might's at his weakest or something like that. That's just an example. But thinking and intelligence is the biggest weapon a creature like a Nomu could have. So he refers to this Nomu as high end. So it's a high-end Nomu, but it's a very cool name. I liked it when he called him high-end. I was like, yo, that's kind of sick though. So like the Nomus before it, it has black skin with a very muscular build. Although this one looks less stacked. You know, it's not as muscular as the initial Nomu we saw. It also has strikingly familiar and similar eyes to what was his name? Was it Kumogiri? I don't think that was his name. You know who I'm talking about. I'm going to call him Kumogiri, but I think I've written that wrong. Actually, let me just take a quick look. Was it? I don't think his name was Kumogiri, was it? But I'm talking about the individual who kind of... let me just check. Oh, no, it's Kurogiri. Okay. So, yeah, it has very striking and similar features. The eyes, most definitely, to Kurogiri, suggesting the league's own members may have been subjected to nomulization. But yeah, so it looks so much like Kurogiri with the eyes and everything, and Kurogiri is that kind of black hole looking individual with the eyes that were just slits almost, and he was able to like make a portal between one place and another, and kind of allowed people to slip through him, creating doorways between different areas. So he always had a very dangerous quirk because he just popped up out of nowhere. But now this Nomu seems to have his features, so I assume he's been changed into a Nomu. We know that Nomus are kind of they originated as humans. We've seen that initial Nomu when we saw Deku's childhood friend and everything like that. A lot of people will have seen that. But this Nomu is very distinct and can be very dangerous. So with trapezius muscles on full display, and it's kind of torn through its skin, very, very overdeveloped. I'm not sure. This guy's been shrugging for days. And its vertebrae are jutting out of its skin, or threatening to tear through, but not quite. And the face appearing kind of like at the end of an elongated neck, almost looking like peeking through this hood kind of thing. It's like the face is torn through this hood, but the hood still kind of overhangs. And I was looking at this Nomu and thinking, yo, shit, it looks very dangerous. And people said that it looked a lot like that. What was his name? The Lizard, League of Villains villain. I think his name was Spinner or something like that. But whatever this creature is, it's got to have something to do with Kurogiri. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this Nomu. And any theories you have, any ideas you have on it. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. And I'll see you guys in my next review of whatever comes out. So I'll see you guys then.